Available on Blu-ray from Arrow Home Video is the 1968 espionage comedy The Assassination Bureau, starring Diana Rigg, Oliver Reed, Telly Savalas, and Kurt Jurgens. This is a film I remember seeing on cable, on TV, I think as a kid. I feel like this is one that used to run on something like TNT or something like that in my local channels when I was a kid. And basically the story, it's set in London in the early 1900s, Victorian, Edwardian, something like that, London. Diana Rigg is a young reporter who's looking to make a name for herself by exposing and busting up this thing called the titular Assassination Bureau, which is this group of assassins from around the world who basically take jobs to assassinate people for the right reasons. Or for money, one or the other. So it's basically like this secret society that takes people out. And she finds her way to their headquarters. She through hook and crook, she meets the chairman, portrayed by Oliver Reed, and she gets him to agree to kill anyone she will name for a price. And she says, "How about you?" And he has already, being a man of his word, a proper Englishman of his word, having already vowed that he will take on whatever assignment she gives him, he says, "Well, okay, that's a challenge, but you have my word that I'll make sure that this bureau kills me, but it's going to cost you $20,000. Now, I know that's too much, and she just basically gives him 20 grand, and that sets the plot in motion where Oliver Reed, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Oliver Reed brings this to the board and says, "Well, we have an interesting challenge, and here's how it's going to work. You all need to try to kill me, but I'm going to try to kill you. And if I get you first, then I guess I win and I survive." So that's basically the plot of the film as it goes forward. Is Oliver Reed in various disguises is trying to take out all the other international members of his guild with Diana Rigg in tow, while they are also trying to find him and take him out. So it's light. It's certainly had a good amount of money behind it. The costumes, the sets are lavish and amazing. The color, the transfer on this is great. And there is a sequence where they're in a French house of leisure and pleasure, and the pinks and the purples and the reds are just like gorgeous in this HD Blu-ray transfer. And it all looks great. It all, moves along, but it didn't quite work for me. And I remember seeing this once before, and having seen the trailer or the posters for it, it always looked like a really fun, rollicking romp, and it just wasn't. And that's kind of how I felt about it again. It's occasionally amusing, but for the most part, I didn't find it very funny. I didn't find the cast. Diana Rigg is great. She's great at playing light material. This is right between her stint on the Avengers and right before she did, within a year or so of when she made on Her Majesty's Secret Service, the Bond film she was in. Also, Telly Savalas, funny enough, the villain in that same Bond film. So they worked together for like 2 consecutive features, at least 2 consecutive for Diana Rigg. And she's great, and Savalas is fine and fun, and Oliver Reed is, Oliver Reed and fine. Not crazy Oliver Reed in this, just that simmering Oliver Reed. But I can't help but wonder if this might not have worked better for me if it had a different leading man who was a little bit better with comedy and humor, because Oliver Reed plays it so straight. It might be the material, it might be the direction, it might be the cast, I don't know. Kurt Jurgens, not necessarily known for his comedic work, also a future Bond villain, funny enough. I think there might be some other smaller actors in this who wound up in Bond films at some point. So interesting cast. Clive Revill is in it, or Revel, and some faces you recognize. And again, really nice to look at. But overall, I just felt it was kind of sluggish. Like it didn't zip along like I kind of hoped it would. There's a commentary by Kim Newman and Sean Hogan on this, and they say the same thing, is that it's like a lot of other movies around that time that set these big adventure stories in that period of time. Great Race was before this, but that kind of thing, or those daring young men and their jaunty jalopies, or those magnificent men and their flying machines, and those kind of films. Some of them were Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. This felt too long to me, and just not as much fun as I hoped it would be for the material and for obviously the resources they had. It was just kind of talky. But there are fun sequences in it. There are fun moments in it. And this is the kind of thing that I would have watched as a kid on Saturday afternoon TV on a nice day. I would have been indoors at my grandparents' house watching whatever old movies were on TV, and it would have been fine. Broken up by commercials, it would have been fine. But watching it straight through, I thought it was kind of a slog to get through. So it was cool to finally see it. If you're a fan of this looks great. And if you've never seen it, it's, If you're a Diana Rigg fan, if you're a fan of 60s British cinema, this is now easily available for you. So for extras, as I mentioned, we have the really good commentary, as always, by Kim Newman and Sean Hogan, who are very honest about the film and its strengths and its weaknesses, and put it in the context of other films around that time and other work these people had done around that time, and based on a Jack London novel, by the way. Apparently Jack London was hard up for ideas. He bought this idea from Sinclair Lewis. He started work on it, gave up on it, put it in a drawer, and then much later, I guess the 60s, the Jack London estate revived it, had somebody finish it off, and that's that. So they talk a lot about that too, and what's the differences between the source material and this. You get film critic Dr. Matthew Sweet on the Assassination Bureau, where he again just delves into the history of the film, the book, and the novel versus the adaptation. That's 27 minutes, very interesting and fun. You get the trailer, which is 3 minutes, and you get an image gallery, which is 62 images, so it's a lot of on-set stills, lobby cards, foreign lobby cards, posters, things like that. So it's a nice package. It's just a film I didn't think was that great. So your mileage may vary. I say all this, but I also kind of want to tell people, you know, what the package is and what it looks and sounds like, because you may love this film. My opinion won't matter, but you're like, does it look good? And the answer is yes, it looks fantastic. Looks and sounds great. So if you're a fan of the Assassination Bureau, it is now available on Blu-ray from Arrow Video.